Okay, structured query language, T-SQL. T-SQL stands for Transactional Structured Query Language. So we in earlier sessions we discussed about the high level business intelligence concepts. We talked about the SQL Server architecture, how the data is stored and all those details. So now we will talk about the query language used to query the SQL Server. So all the tables we store can be queried using T-SQL. So T-SQL is an ANSI and ISO standard. These are the two standards that are defined long back on all the programming languages. So SQL or T-SQL is also an ANSI standard, falls under ANSI standard, follows the ANSI standard, ANSI and ISO standards. And T-SQL was first born as SQL, SEQUEL. So that was first designed by IBM for their mainframe systems, and then it became ANSI in 1986, after which all other database systems started using that T-SQL. The main advantage with T-SQL is it resembles English-like statements. So you can interpret what is written in the select statement just by reading the statement. So unlike any other languages like C, C++ and all, you don't need lot of expertise to at least understand what is written in the T-SQL. So it's easy to learn and easy to understand. So depending on the usage, depending on the functionality, T-SQL statements are defined or categorized into three categories: data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language. Okay, so data definition language stands for it is also known as DDL, and data manipulation language is also known as DML, or the statements that fall under data manipulation language are called DML statements. Similarly, data control language statements are called DCL statements. Okay, again depending on the functionality of those statements, those are categorized into those three forms. So what does data definition language do? We'll talk with data manipulation, or I will go through data definition language. Data definition language is basically consists of all the statements that are used to define the objects in the system. Like for example, creating an object in the sense creating a table, creating a view, stored procedure, any object in the SQL Server. To create an object, we use create statement. Similarly, if you want to change their definition, we use alter, and if you want to drop an object from the system, we use drop. So basically DDL, or data definition language, is used to define the objects in the system. Okay, data manipulation language statements are used to modify the data. Data is important here. So data definition language is uh, to modify the definitions, whereas data manipulation language is to modify the data. Okay, so like select, insert, update, delete, truncate and merge. So these are all the statements used to modify the data. That means to insert the data, to update the data, or if you want to delete the data, or maybe we can select the data as well. All these fall under data manipulation language. Then data the commands used to control the permissions fall under data control language. Like for example, you have a table in the database and you want to provide access to specific users for that table, then that permission setting commands are basically data control language commands we use. So DCL statements are deal with setting the permissions or controlling the access, like a grant, revoke, or a couple of examples of DCL statements. So we will start with data manipulation language. Again, data manipulation language is used to play with the data. So we work with to work with the data, we use data manipulation language. So at this moment we don't need to worry about how the table is created and all those things. We will be using the sample database. So we will see how we can use data manipulation language statements to work with the data, to access the data. Okay. So data manipulation language allows querying and modifying the data, and few of the statements available are select. Select statement is used to query a table. So we can apply any logical manipulation, or we can apply any logic to modify the data while retrieving. So in this case, when I say modify the data, we are not basically modifying the physical data, we are deriving a new data in the view. So when I write a select statement, I can derive new columns or derive new information out of existing information. So for example, sales information, right? If I have order quantity and price, I can derive the sales amount. So when I derive a sales amount using select statement, it is a basically a view. So we are not altering the data. So select statement is only for querying the table. So you can query the table, but you cannot modify the table. Okay. Insert. Insert is used to insert new data into a table. Like if you want to add a new record, you can use insert statement to insert a record. Update is used to update existing records in the table. Delete and truncate both are used to delete existing records from a given table. Okay. Merge is used to upsert. Upsert is nothing but update and insert to a table. So if you want to update and insert existing data and insert a new record at the same time, we will use merge. We'll see each of the statements in detail. And before we go to data manipulation language, those select statements, we see this useful commands. So use and sp help. Okay. So we will go to the SQL management studio and see different areas there. So, how we can write select statements and all. So we saw how to connect to SQL management studio, right? We go to Windows and type SQL management studio, and it opens the management studio, and then you connect using SQL server name. Okay. Once you connect, you basically need to open a query editor. So now we want to write the queries, right? So at the left side panel in the object explorer, we can see all the objects available on that server, or you can connect to multiple servers here and see the objects in that server. But to write the queries, we need a query editor. So how to open a query editor? You can click on new query. Okay, when you click on new query, it opens an editor. So this is the query editor. So all this sorry, so all this area is query editor. Okay. So now you can do a new query, or you can do control n. Okay, control plus n. Control plus n also opens new window. Okay. So now we have opened query editor. Now I want to access a table from a specific database. So for example, let me go to my sample database. This is my sample AdventureWorks DW, right? So this is the sample database we installed. So I want to access the objects in the table. So one way I can do is expand this and go to the tables and see all the tables list. Now I want to see the data in these tables. How do I do? How do I access the data in the tables? By writing select statement. Okay. So before writing the select statement, what I need to do, I need to get into the context of the database. So what is a context? Context is nothing but against which database you want to execute your statement. Let's say I write some statement here, statement, SQL statement, T-SQL, right? Any statement. So against which database this statement needs to be run, that is called context. So to change the context, I mean you need to set the context against the database you want to run. So by default, depending on your permission levels, you will have the default database context here. You will see the current database context. So at this moment, my queries, whatever queries I am running here, are all running against master database. Okay. So if I, let's say if I want to see the data of dim account, which is in AdventureWorks DB, if I write a select statement here, I won't be able to see it because the context on which I am executing the select statement is master DB. Okay, so I need to change the context. So how do I change the context? I can change the context by selecting the value, by selecting the appropriate database value. So I go here, click on the drop down and pick AdventureWorks. So now whatever statements I run here in the query editor will be run against AdventureWorks database. So that is the context. So before writing any select statement, you should make sure that you are writing those statements, or you are executing them against the appropriate database context. Otherwise you will get a error like object not found or table not found errors. Okay. So not only just doing a drop down, if you want to execute a command, you can use command. Use command is also used to change the current context of the database. So for example, I can say I want to use MSDB, or I will use the other while world importer DW. So I want to execute my select statements against while the world importers DW database. So when I say use and this one and execute, how do I execute the statements? I click on execute button here. So if you see, there is an execute button, right? Click on execute button, which will execute my statement. Click execute. See, the moment I clicked execute, what happened? The current context of this editor is changed to wide world importers. Now whatever statements I run here will be executed against this wide world importers DW. So there are two ways to change the current context. One is using use statement, or by going to the drop down list and selecting the database. Okay. And similarly there is one more connect button here, or disconnect button, change the connection. Okay. So this is used to connect to a different server. So for example, let's say you have two servers in your application or in your project. So currently I am running this against my desktop, right? Let's say you want to change the connection, you want to run these commands or these statements against different server. So what you can do, you can connect to click on change connection, and it opens up the connection window. You can change the server name here. You change the server name, click OK, and then onwards all the queries you run here in the query editor will be run against the new server. Okay. So there are two ways to change the current context. One is by clicking the database, or by executing the use command. Okay. That is about use. Now I told how to execute, right? There are two ways to change the current context, and there are a couple of ways to execute the statement. How to execute? One is we saw click on execute button. So you go to execute and click in. Okay, click on execute. The other option is F5. Okay, you can also use F5. So select this command and press F5. So it will change the context and you see command completed successfully. So there are two ways to execute a command, or there is another way I will show you. So one is click on execute, 2 is F5, and 3 is control E. Okay, you can use control E also to execute a SQL command. Okay, like this, control E. Control E also executes the SQL command. Okay, so that is the basics of executing SQL statements on SQL editor. Oops. And SP help we will see in a bit. So SP help is used to check the definition of a table. So why do we need to check the definition? We will talk about that later. And another thing is whenever I am giving the select statements, commands and all, um, I don't stress lot on the syntaxes, because there are a lot of syntax statements or clauses you can, options you can use in each statement. So to look at the syntaxes, I would recommend go to the MSDN. So you just need to go to, let's say, go to your Internet Explorer, http msdn.microsoft.com, and you can search here, select. Transact SQL is what you need to look at. Transact SQL represents T-SQL. So this is all the syntax of select statement. So we won't be using all of this, but whenever you have a need to select something, you can refer to MSDN. MSDN is the best place to look for the syntaxes. Okay, any T-SQL syntax you can look at MSDN. Okay, so we will start with select statement. So the basic syntax of select is this one: select the column list, whatever the column list, top and distinct we will see in a bit, from the table name, that means whichever table you want to query, where is what kind of data filtering you want to apply. Let's say you have 1 year worth of data in a table and you want to see only last 1 month data. So last 1 month is your filtering condition. Group by, so grouping columns. Okay, grouping columns nothing but let's say you have the sales data, you want to see per product how many orders you got. So per product is your group by, you are grouping the sales amount by the product, that is the group by condition, group by column. Having is, let's say if we take the same example, I want to see the product whose orders were more than 1000. I don't want to look at the orders, small order quantities. So I want to see the products whose orders are more than 1000 order quantity, right? That is the having condition. So having condition is applied after grouping. So when I say get me the products and their sales quantity per product sales quantity. I'm grouping the sales quantity by product, and then I am asking show me only those product where the sum of or total quantity of that product is greater than 1000. That means I just want to get only those product for which the total quantity is greater than 1000. That is having condition. And order by is sort. So let's say in the same example I want to see product names in a alphabetically sorted order. So that is order by. So use order by condition to show to list down the columns in a given order. We will see a couple of examples how a select statement looks. Okay, so I am going to go back to AdventureWorks, use, and another thing you can do is instead of typing the whole thing, if you have this IntelliSense enabled, you can see the database name or the object name, those names if they already exist in the system. Okay, so you just select and press enter instead of typing, or the other way is use and go to this object name. Okay, click on the on that name, just drag it. Okay, so that way you can get the name into the query analyzer, so that you don't need to completely type. So there are two ways. One is using IntelliSense, where as soon as you start typing you will get the names, or you just drop it. So if I want to look at the table, if I want to type the table, I can just drag the name here. Oops. Drag the table like this. Okay, that's basically makes it easy instead of typing the names. So let's say I want to go back to my AdventureWorks. I want to execute my command, my T-SQL statement against AdventureWorks. Okay, so I want to see the let's say I want to pick my table as fact internet sales. So fact internet sales gives the sales amounts. If you want to see the columns list in the table, there are again multiple ways to do it. Fact table, go to the table in the object explorer, expand the table name, expand the columns. So you can see all the columns list. These are all the columns exist in fact reseller sales. Not only the columns, you can see multiple other properties. So for example, you can see keys and other attributes of the table. We'll talk about those later, but for now you can see the columns list by expanding the columns. The other way to do it is there is a command called sp_help. Okay, sp_help gives the definition of the table. So whatever you are seeing here can be seen in the query results as well. Like I want to see the definition of the fact. Okay, I select the fact table name, I'll say sp_help. Okay, so sp_help and table name, and I will execute this. So sp_help and the table name gives me the definition of the table. So I see the table name, owner, what kind of the table is it? Is it a user table or system table? And created date, and I see bunch of properties like columns list and the properties of all the columns, and there are some of other interesting properties like indexes, constraints, all these things. Okay, so you can see the complete metadata of this table using sp_help. So let's say I want to get for simplicity I want to get two columns from this table. So what are those columns? I want to say sales amount, and I was saying product. So product key. Okay, for simplicity I want to get just 2 columns. So I will say select my columns list, product key and sales amount from my table name. Okay, so what am I doing here? I am getting product key and sales amount column values from fact internet sales table. I will go and execute this one to see the product key and sales amount. This is the product key and sales amount data. Similarly, if I want, I can go and add another column as well. Let's say I want to say order date key. I want to add order date key. Okay, so just like that, select columns list from the table. So that gives me the product key, order date key and the sales amount values. So those are the columns, they have some values and we are retrieving those. Okay, that is a basic select part. Now so we will start adding one by one from this. So now we will see how the filtering works. So filtering can be done using where condition. Okay, so I want to, let's say I want to get the data for product key 346. Okay, so there are a lot of products, but I want to see the data only for 346. So how can I do? I can add a where condition. Where, what is my column I want to filter on? Product key. I want to filter product key on a specific value. I want to filter the product key for a specific value equals to 346. What do I want? I want to see the columns product key, order key, sales amount from fact internet sales where product key is 346. That means get me the data from fact internet sales only for the product key 346. Okay, I will go and execute this. So this one will show me the data of the product key 346. So if I look at the results, I don't see any other data. All the data I see is for the product 346, because we are filtering this table for this value where product key value is equals to 346. Similarly, you can add multiple filters using AND condition, AND or logical operators. We will talk about that in a bit. So SQL Server has two logical operators, AND or AND or, similar to any other language. Okay, AND is basically logical AND, that means both left and right conditions should be fulfilled. OR means either left or right condition should be fulfilled. So for example, in this one, let's say I want to see the data from fact internet sales where product key is 346 and date key is, let's say 212, some value. Okay, I want to see, I want to filter the data for these two, and order date key is equals to that value. So now what am I saying? I am extending the select statement to filter the data further on order date key. So I want to get all the records from fact internet sales where product key equals to 346 and order date key is that value. That means I need to see only data where I want to see only those records where both conditions fulfill. That means a record should have 346 and this value. So in this case, let's say if we go to row 23 here, so product key is 346, which is fulfilling my condition, my first condition, right? But order date key is 618, which does not fulfill my condition, right? So I don't want to see this kind of records in my result. I want to see only the records where product key and like this kind of condition, where product key and order date key both match this criteria. Okay, so it is not that 346 from product key and order date from other row should match, not like that. Within a given row both conditions should be met. Okay, that is a important thing. So when we specify where condition, it is applied on each record. So each record should fulfill the conditions what we specify, not individual condition on individual record. Okay, so if we execute this statement, we should be getting the records that have product key as 346 and order date key as that 612 2011-06-12. So it is basically year, month, day value. It is was written in as a form of number, which is again all are integer. Okay, so now what did we do? We filtered fact internet sales by product key equals to 346 and order key equals to this one. Similarly, what happens if I use OR? Okay, we will try OR as well. So when I specify OR here instead of AND, what am I asking for? I am asking for all the records from fact internet sales where either product key equals to 346 or order date key equals to that value. Okay, so if I go and execute this statement, so I see many records here. Why am I getting so many records? Because some of the records have 346 as product key, or they could be any order date key. They may have the same value as we specified or anything. So now it is looking in each record. Here in this one, it is looking in each record if either product key equals to 346 or the date is this one. So in the first record, what is happening? The product key condition is fulfilling. So it basically resolves to true. Similarly, the second record also 346. So this one resolves to true. Though order date key is not matching this, since we are using OR, the condition is resolving to true. Whereas if you go down to some of the records where product key is 313, let's say the product here is 348. So if you look at this record, the product key value is not matching with our condition, right? Whereas the order date key is matching with our condition. So that's why this record also was considered in as a result. So only product key matching, but product order date key is matching, but product key is not matching. Okay, but since we are using OR condition, this record was picked up. So it's like any other language and or logical operator. Okay, so that is about where condition. Similarly, you can add n number of conditions and you can use parenthesis as well. So SQL Server has parenthesis as well, like this. So when you specify a parenthesis, that particular statements in that parenthesis are considered as one unit. So you can specify let's say and or product key equals to 348 and this one. So what is this condition specifying here? I am asking pick all the records where product key equals to 346 and order date key equals to that value. That means in a record, in a given record here, both the conditions should be fulfilled. So get me the record that has these two values or combination of these two values. That means 348 and this value. So it's basically both combinations should exist. This combination should exist or the second combination should exist. Okay, like that we can extend where condition to filter out the data and add a number of conditions. Okay, so once where is done, we can look at order by. So what did we talk? Order by basically used to sort the data, right? So in this case, let's say I want to sort the data by product key. Okay, so I can specify order by product key. So what I am asking, give me the results, give me this the three columns, product key, order date key, sales amount, applying this condition, but by sorting by product key. So when I run this guy, it gives me the data by the sort key. So right now there are only 4 records that are fulfilling this condition. So the product key 246 and this, and 348 and this. Okay, so the data is sorted by this. Let's say I want to exclude the where condition. So in SQL, in T-SQL we can do commenting as well. To comment the code you can use two hyphens. Two hyphens is to comment a single line comment, or you can use a multi-line comment like this, forward slash star and star forward slash. This is like any other language. Okay, this is single line comment, and that is multi line comment. Okay, so let's say if I comment this, that is multi-line comment. You can comment when you use two hyphens, you can comment only one line. Okay, so in this case I want to comment out one of the condition by using single line comment. Okay, so now when I execute this select statement, this particular commented statement will not be executed. Okay, we will see that. So I execute this, I get only 2 records. Okay, so I will comment both lines and I will take out the filter condition. So I just want to see how the data gets started by product key. So now I am getting all the data from fact internet sales by ordered by product key. Okay, it's taking time, and we got the numbers. So there were 60,000 records in this table. See, I get all the data. Similarly, I can sort by sales amount or order date key. And having group by we'll see in a bit. And there is something called top, a condition called top. Top clause basically used to select a specific number of records starting from the top position. That means when I say top 10, I want to get only the first 10 records from the result set. Okay, so we'll see the example here. If I go back to my SQL, select I'll copy this, select top. So how many records did I got? 60,000, right? So instead I want to get only 10 records from the result set. Select top 10 columns, these 3 columns from the fact internet sales order by product key. Okay, so if I execute this, I get only top 10 records. If I don't put top 10, we got around 60,000 records. By using top 10, we can restrict the number of records retrieved from the table. Okay, but it doesn't do anything. It just it executes the complete rest of the statement, and out of the results it got, it shows you only 10 records. Okay, so it doesn't mean that the where condition or these are not executing. So even if you say product key equals to 346, it basically applies the product key filter, and from the results, let's say I applied product key as 346, I get 49 records, right? When I use top 10, when I say top 10, it returns me the first 10 records from this result set. It is not the first 10 record, it doesn't pick first 10 records from the fact and then apply the where condition. It first applies the where condition, it applies all the other parts of the select statement. Once from the result set it got, it shows only 10 records. So in this case, it applies the where condition, it applies all the conditions group by having everything, and once the result set comes, it shows the 10 records from the top, first 10 records. Okay, like this. So it applied the filter and it picked only 10 records from the top. Generally we use top 10 in to see the sample data, so how the data is structured, what kind of columns are there, and if you want to look at the sample, if you want to do the sampling, we use top 10. Okay, then we have distinct. Distinct condition is used to pick distinct values from the table. Okay, so for example, we go back to our SQL. So look at this top 10 records, or maybe I will just remove this top 10. If you look at these records, there are duplicate records like 346. Okay, 346. These first 3 records are repeating. Repeating in the sense there were transactions, there were sales made, 3 times sales made for that particular product, but it is not wrong data. But for our example, for our testing, we treat this as duplicate records. Okay, so similarly I have another set of duplicate records here. Duplicate in the sense all the 3 columns are repeating the same values. Okay, so the first set has 346 and 20, 10, 12, 28, 333, 99.99, right? So this complete, this first set has 3 rows with same values, that means duplicate rows. Similarly, the second set has 346, 2011, 0106, which is again duplicating. So let's say I want to see the distinct values. If there are duplicates, I want to eliminate the duplicates and see only one record for each set. So in this case, for the first set, I want to see one record. For the second set, I want to see one record. I don't want to see the duplicates. I want to eliminate the duplicates. So to eliminate the duplicates, we can use distinct condition. So I can say select distinct of those three columns. Three columns nothing but the product key, order date key, sales amount. I want to see distinct values of those three columns. Okay, so let's run this and see. So now what is happening? If you look at the first record, I don't see the duplicates here. I just see one record for 346, 2010, 1228, 29 and this value. So this is one record I see. So earlier there were three records, but since we use distinct, what SQL Server did? SQL Server basically eliminated the duplicates and just picked one record from that set. Similarly, the second record you see only one record and the duplicates are eliminated. Like this we can use distinct condition to see to eliminate the duplicate values. In case a table has duplicates like this, and if you want to see specifically how many distinct records are there, you can use distinct condition. Okay. So for example, let's say our scenario is I want to see on which dates we got orders for product key 346. That means I want to see for product key 346 what are the dates where we have sales amount. So that means what are the records that have sales amount for 346. Okay, in business terms, I want to see the records, or I want to know the dates on which a particular product got sold. So if I know, I can make some decisions, right? So let's say umbrella, for example. So generally umbrella you buy in rainy conditions. In Seattle we don't buy, but in general, right? So if a specific product or an umbrella is getting a lot of sales in a specific given day, that means there was some climatic issue, right? So business uses that kind of information to make decisions. So to fulfill that, what we need to see? We need to see what are the dates on which we have the product key 346 with sales. Okay, how do I get? So my problem statement is find the dates, okay, for which there are sales for product 346. Okay, this is the business definition. Find me the dates for which there are sales for a product. So how do I find? So if you look at this table, fact internet sales gives me the sales information. That means if an entry is there in that table, that means there was a sales made for that product, right? So I need to see the dates for which that product entry is there. So I will be using the same select statement. Select, I want to see, I don't want to see product key in this case, but I want to see the sales, right? Order, I will copy the same select statement. So I want to see the records from fact internet sales where product key is 346. That means for the records, the sales records of 346, and I am interested to see only the date key, order date key, not other columns. So now what I am saying, give me the distinct order date key values from fact internet sales where product key equals to 346. That means give me the dates for which there were sales for product 346. Okay, so that is basically fulfilling the definition or the requirement of business business requirement. Okay, and I am saying all the order date keys. So now if I run this one, execute, I see so many order dates, right? Now I want to see how many are the distinct dates in this. So I don't want to see all the duplicate repeated values. Okay, so I can simply say distinct order date key order. The error it is showing is order by items must appear in the selects list, because I was doing distinct and order date, but I was ordering by product key. So I will just make it order date key, because I want to sort the data output by order date. So now it shows me the distinct dates. Distinct date keys are dates on which there were sales for the product 346. So this statement is filtering the fact internet sales data by product key value 346 and giving me distinct values of order date key. Okay, so that is basically usage of distinct in general business scenario or in real time scenario where you use distinct condition. Okay, and star, there is something called star. So far we were listing out columns, right? So we can use star to get all the columns from the table. So for example, select star. So instead of picking up just one or two columns, we can say star from fact internet sales. I will still apply the where clause so that I can filter out some data. Product key equals to 346, and I will run this. Okay, select star from the fact, that means I am picking all the columns from the table. Execute. Now it shows me all the columns from my table. Okay, fact internet sales. So there are so many columns, we are seeing all the list of the columns. And one more thing I wanted to show here is whenever we execute the query, it shows the results of the query here. So it shows how many rows were returned by that select statement. So in this case it returned 49 rows. Okay, and there is time here. It shows how much time a query took to execute that particular select statement and to return the results. Okay, that is the time. And then it shows against which database that query was executed, and then it shows what is the server we executed that particular query. And there is something called speed. Speed is nothing but a process ID assigned to you. So whenever you connect to a server, SQL server assigns a speed, a process ID to you, so for your queries. So this is basically the speed number, and then it shows the version of the server as well. So you get lot of information from this particular bar here. So you get how many rows it is returning, you can see how much time it is taking to execute the given query. It will show what is the database it is running against, and it will show the data the server and instance name against which the query is run, and it shows the speed and it shows the server version as well. Okay, and in the result pane you see the results, and messages shows if there are any errors, if there is any output from your query, it shows the messages here. In this case it shows how many rows were returned by this select statement, how many rows affected. Okay. So I have a question. Why didn't we get error when we ran statement without distinct clause? So when we run the select statement without distinct clause, something like this. Product key, right? This was what we ran first. So when we run like this, we didn't get any error, so it executes successfully. But when we put this thing in the same statement, but we order by something else, we get different error. That's a good question. So if I just say order date key, order by product key, right? I just copied the same select statement. Instead of all the order date keys, I just put distinct. If I run this one, it throws me error. Why? We will talk about that in a minute. Okay, there is a reason why SQL Server says I cannot do this. Okay, so that is a basic select statement. Okay, so that the answer for your question is this one. So when we run any select statement in SQL Server needs to execute that select statement, right? So it follows a certain logical processing order. It is called logical processing order. That means it's an order that SQL Server follows to execute any select statement. Okay, so though your select statement looks like this, in this select statement, what I am saying, I am first saying select, and then I am saying pick me distinct, then the column name from a table, then where condition and order by, right? But when the SQL Server actually executes this select statement, it executes in a different logical order, that is called processing order. It picks up different order to process that particular request. So we will see the processing order. So first, whenever we run a select statement, the first thing that gets executed is from clause. Okay, so irrespective of which table you want, what you want from the table, not which table, irrespective of which column and how the column should be derived and what kind of filtering you want to use, the first thing SQL Server does is first looks at what table you want to access. Okay, first thing in the select statement, it looks at from clause, from the fact internet sales. So that means SQL Server identifies that this query is basically looking at fact internet sales. Then it goes and checks in the memory where is, or in the hard disk where is fact internet sales. Okay, so that time it is accessing the data in the memory, in the hard disk. Second is on. On, we haven't gone there yet. On is basically, if let's say you want to pick the data from multiple tables, you will be using something called joining conditions. Okay, so not only just accessing your one table, you may specify multiple tables to get the data. Okay, we will see that joins later. So SQL Server looks at all the tables you are using. In other words, it looks at not just one table, all the tables that you are accessing in select statement. Okay, so that is the first priority. It first identifies what are all the tables you are accessing. Okay, that is 1 2 3 here. One is from okay, from which table and what are other tables apart from that one table, and then the join condition. Okay, this all is nothing but the tables list. Okay, 1 2 3 gives me the tables list. Then it looks at the where condition. So in my select statement, what is the filtering criteria? That means I know that I need to get the data from fact internet sales. Now what data I want to get? What, like, let's say there are million records, or in this case there were 60,000 records. So SQL Server determines whether I need to get all the 60,000 records into memory, or should I read all the 60,000 records from hard disk into memory, or do I need only subset of data from the table. So SQL Server looks at the where condition to filter out, because it makes it easy for SQL Server. So let's say SQL Server is executing this condition later. What happens? It needs to bring all the 60,000 or 100 whatever million records into the memory, right, and then apply the filter and all those things. Instead, since it is basically processing the where condition, what it does, while reading the data from the hard disk itself, it basically picks up only the records that fulfills this where condition. So in this case, the moment it adds where condition, we are getting only 49 records. So 60,000 records getting into memory versus 49 records getting into memory. So that's why SQL Server uses where condition as the second priority. Okay, the third priority is group by. Okay, group by means, as I was saying, if I want to see the numbers by product, I use group bys. Okay, so it filtered the data, it first accessed the table, then filtered the data, and then it does the grouping. Okay, and the sixth we can ignore here. It's a with cube, it's related to analysis services. Then next priority is having condition. Having is after it does the grouping, it uses it process the having step. Having means it is a filter on top of grouping. So there are two kinds of filters here. We will talk about having later, but where condition is one filter, inner filter, and after grouping also we can filter the data, that is having. Okay, and then the eighth step, almost at the end, select statement does SQL Server does the select. Okay, so okay, now it did the select statement. So now what happened, it first accessed the table fact internet sales, and it picked those records that are that fulfill this condition, which are 49 records, right. So in memory, what is happening? Let's say if I think this is the memory, a memory box. Okay, so what is happening in memory? I have fact internet sales data, fact internet or fact data for product key or product 346. That is the data I have so far in the memory, right. Now what it is doing? It is using select. It is processing the select statement. Okay, so what it does, from this fact select, what is the column we specified? We specified order date key, right. So what it does after this, what is the output of this um, step? You get order date key from fact. That means you have only order date key from the fact table. Okay, only one column from the fact in the memory. Okay, step 1, at step 1 you had a whole fact data where product is equals to 346. By the time it reached to the processing step 8, or I can say step 8, you got only order date key column from the fact in the memory. Okay. Now next what we are doing, we are executing distinct. Okay. So the moment we execute distinct, that means the moment SQL Server processes this distinct class, what it is doing, since we are using distinct here as part of ninth processing step, it eliminates duplicates from order date key values, right? Excuse me. So in the previous step it picked only order date key from the table, and now it eliminated duplicates from order date key. Now the 10th step is to process order by. Okay. Now SQL Server tries to do the order by. So in this case what it can do, the ordering, it has only one column here in the memory, order date key, it doesn't have any other things. So it can order by only order date key, right, because in the memory there is only one column with the filter, so there is no other column. So it can order by only the available columns. Let's say in your select statement you had product key here. Now what happens when you have product key as part of 8th operation, it picks up order key as well as product key, two columns. At that time when you say order the data for by product key, it can do it. But here since we are picking just the order date key, but we are asking it to process the data by product key, which SQL Server cannot do. Okay. So it can order by only the available columns, in this case only one column, order date key. Okay. So that is the 10th step. That's the reason why our select statement failed, because by the time it comes to process order by, there is no product key available for SQL Server in the memory. Okay. So that is the 10th step. Now the 11th is top. So once it gets all this data, it picks up the top records. If you say top 10, it picks up those top 10 records after from the output of all that processing. Okay. So that's why I was saying that.
Kiran, I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, so I still didn't understand, like, in step 8, we still have only order date key from fact,
Yes.
and in step 9, it only eliminates the duplicate values of product keys, order date key.
Yes.
So we still don't have product key in step 8.
Ye
So
yes.
even then, the order by product key worked. I
No, in
still
that
didn't understand
case,
that part.
in the other statement
Mhm.
here, right,
Hmm.
in this statement what is happening is you are picking up select, right, from the fact internet cells.
Hmm.
Yeah, you are right. So in general terms, right, when you use distinct, it needs to have the same column name in the order by. When you just say select, it picks up from, it can order from any other column. So that select column name should not be in the does not need to be in the order by list, or the order by column name does not need to be in the select list. I will check this sequence. I think somewhere it is going wrong. Okay, but
Okay.
at the
Okay,
high
sure.
level, this is the order it processes the select statement. Okay, so in this case, let's see. So it first looks at the fact table, fact internet sale, and then it filters the data by product key 346. So it gets some subset of data, then it does the select. So when it does the select, it gets only order date key, but it is able to order by product key. I will check back on that. I think the sequence is
Sure.
little different, or I don't know. Okay, but that's a high
Yeah.
level how SQL Server processes the select statements. So whenever you get the errors like that, you should basically look at this execution, at least you should think about the processing order, how it is executing. Okay, so the main problem comes in filtering. So we put filtering in where clause, and we put filtering on having condition. So we need to understand which one gets execute first, and depending on that you can apply the filters. So the last step is executing the top 10 or top class. That means it returns the top number of records from the output of this uh, the previous processing steps. Okay, so that is logical processing order of select statements. And we saw, I'll get back on that question. I need to do a little bit reading. So logical operators, we have logical operators and conditional operators in SQL Server. Logical operators are greater than or equals to, less than or equals to, or not equals to. So these can be used, as I was saying, in where condition as well as having condition. Okay, so they are like any other language. Greater than represents greater than value. Left side value should be always greater than the right side value. Greater than or equals to, less than or equals to. So for example, in our case here, let's say I want to see all the records, comma star, which represents all the records from the table where product key is greater than 346. So I don't want to see the product key value 346. I just want to see only the values that are greater than 346. Okay, see, so the result shows me all the records that are greater than 346. Okay, similarly I can say greater than and product key is less than 500. Okay, so I want to see all the products, all the data for the products ID greater than 346 and less than 500. Okay, so I see 347 to 500. Okay, and similarly you can use any of those logical operators, greater than or equals to, less than or equals to. Not equals to means less than, and greater than represents not equals to. And we saw and or conditions. So I'll give some exercises for today. You can try it out based on what we discussed. Okay, so we will stop at this stage. Next session we will see the aggregate functions, how they work, and what they use for, and we will continue from there. Okay, so any questions so far? Yeah, that's a good question. I will get back on that.